the term "the next billion" is something that we've heard of, and this is an audience that people have been targeting for a very long time. And I believe ever since this whole ecosystem of the startup culture started developing in India, everyone spoke about the next billion. The question is, who is this next billion, and why are people chasing this next billion? Until how long will be chasing them, and what does it really bring on board? Now, it's telecom companies, consumer tech, agri-tech, med-tech, educational technologies. All these players, and many of you, want a chunk of this next billion pie. But I think none of these businesses will succeed in getting to that pie till financial services does not reach the next billion. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Thank you, Bipin Preet. The next billion, what is your perspective? कौन है ये लोग, कहाँ से आते हैं, और इतने अहम क्यों हैं?
Thank you, Shashida. Pleased to be here at GFF today. And before I begin answering your question, I want to say good morning to everybody. And I hope you've had a morning coffee, because the topic that we are going to talk about is a little heavy. And so pay some attention, maybe we'll understand a little bit more about what FinTech Frontier is all about. Now, we think of financial inclusion, FinTech Frontier in terms of numbers, right? In terms of how big a country India is, or how poor a country India is. There are different tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We live in cities, there are people living in villages, towns, etc. But sometimes we must pause and think about individuals. Who are we really talking about? Who is in the FinTech frontier? Who today doesn't have access to financial products? I'll give you a real life example of a person I know in the last 1 year, in the last 12 months. Now, this person goes by the name of Mohammad Israj. He actually is a gardener in the complex that we live. So he goes and waters pots and plants and takes care of them for many different houses in the complex that I live in. And one fine day, during the day, one pet dog, bit his right hand and almost took his entire right hand out. He was hospitalized for 3 months. And he's the only breadwinner in the family. He has 3 kids, all young kids, going to schools. And by the way, going to private schools, because we all want to send our kids to private schools. So even though he used to earn at least 25 to 30,000 rupees per month. But the moment he lost his job, the moment he couldn't work because his right hand is not working, he's out of options, right? He's out of money. Why? Because though he has a bank account and we taught him how to use UPI, we taught him how to do digital payments, but he doesn't understand the concept of savings. Why you should save money. Why you need to have an emergency fund. We talk about that a lot, right? And even though he has a bank account and even though there is money movement in the bank account, no bank has offered him any kind of a credit product. And of course, he also didn't understand that he needed to have insurance of any kind, work insurance or health insurance. Now imagine a person like that, and millions, hundreds of millions of people like that, who with one incident, with one event, can actually slide into poverty. And their life can become really miserable. So when we talk about FinTech Frontier, it is about taking FinTech using technology to people like Israj, whose lives we can improve and impact in a much positive way.
So would you say it is primarily people who are employed in India, and perhaps some of them will come into the workforce, but they're in that informal employment, like Israj is? And how big an opportunity then it is to get these people on board and get financial services to them? When you say he didn't have an insurance, he didn't have another alternate source of income, he was the only bread earner, what does he really desire so that he doesn't, if at all he comes into this pitfall again, how does he overcome it? What kind of financial services could aid him, and how would you help him?
So what Israj needs is, firstly, the first and foremost is financial literacy. It's about understanding money. It's not about having less money or more money. It's about understanding the role that money plays in your life and what you should know about it, right? And I think that is the first step. And basically in that, the first step is obviously knowing that you need to save money, right? And you need to create a proper money trail in your bank account, which basically, even though you may be informally employed, because you're not on the rolls of any company, you don't have formal employment, but at least your bank account can start depicting a formal, steady money trail. And that becomes the starting point of your financial journey. Using that, somebody can advise you that you need to save some money aside for a rainy day or for a day like this, or that you must keep some money always in your bank account and not always withdraw it as cash, so that banks know that you keep some money in the bank account and they will possibly give you access to some kind of a credit. So the first step is financial literacy. The second step is actually apps like Mobikwik, which help you first start your digital journey with digital payments. As in with UPI, you start doing transactions day in and day out, so you create that kind of a money trail. And secondly, the products that we offer in credit as well as in savings. So we, for example, offer a product called Mobikwik Zip, which gives people access to up to 50,000-60,000 rupees at zero interest, which you can use for 30 days. And which you can extend by, paying a small fees. Now, for somebody like Israj, this could make a ton of sense, right? If he had access to 50,000 rupees, that would help him tide over this 2 to 3 month period, using which you can use this to pay for grocery, pay for bills, pay for his mobile recharge, pay for all the services that Mobikwik supports. By not spending his money, but using the credit that we gave him access to. But of course, that journey starts also by us understanding that customer first, because once they come into digital payments, we need to look at their behavior, look at their how they are spending money, how they are using money, what kind of device they are using, and using all those data points in order to better understand that customer and offer him this kind of a credit product. And once they have access to this pay later product, potentially, if they do well, they can get access to a cash loan, a personal loan, which they can pay over 6-month or 12-month EMIs. So if Israj had access to either of these two products or both of them, he would be able to actually avoid an event, which is a life-changing event for that person. Same way, if they were saving some money, and we have a product called Mobikwik Extra, which allows you to have a very liquid way of saving money and getting returns which are better than fixed deposits. It's almost up to 12%. So if he had saved some money, it's not about which product you're saving money on, but at least some product where you start the journey of saving, then you have accumulated a certain sum which you can use whenever an emergency situation arises. So the fintech frontier is really about getting to that place, and Mobikwik is playing the role of bringing these products from our partners, whether it is banks, whether it is NBFCs, and bring them to people who today have bank accounts but don't have banking.
Yeah, that's the key, right? People, I think everyone in this country has a bank account, or the government is encouraging them to get a bank account, but they don't get financial aid when they need it. The beginning for you started with that wallet and, of course, payments. Now, payments is a larger part of the industry, especially with the way UPI has revolutionized cashless transactions. I don't know how many of you are actually have cash in your wallets at this point in time, because till last week I just had only 500 rupees and it was just there. I didn't even know. All of our payments were through mobile phones and UPI. I want to understand, when you speak of credit, what part of your business, and primarily fintech companies, peers of yours, are steering towards credit? Payments, we all understand, is a very low margin business, लेकिन वहीं से entry होती है आपके पूरे बड़े audience की. How is this evolving, and how are you revolutionizing what UPI did? Because that's the biggest thing we've seen in the last 5 to 7 years.
Absolutely. I think when we think about credit, as we know, there is an inherent risk in giving credit to people, just giving cash. If you give cash to somebody in the form of a loan, you don't know what they're going to really use it for. You need to understand really if they need that cash, they will be able to pay it back, etc. So the first credit that we came up with actually doesn't work like a credit product. It's almost a payment product. And that is because of the experience that we have collected over hundreds of millions of users who've used our payment products across UPI and wallet. Because we saw people, what do they need money for? Right? They need to pay for their bills. They need to pay for expenses like grocery, food. They need to pay for travel, right? These are the most important. They need to pay for fuel. So if I create a credit product which gives this spend ability in the form of credit, which is Mobikwik Zip, then they can easily tide over it and use it like whenever their cash flow is tight. So whether it is end of the month, whether you didn't get the salary this month, whether you didn't get money from your employer this month, you can use that money. But use it not in the form of cash, but to spend wherever you need to spend. Now, why that is important, why this distinction is important is because it establishes the utility of that credit product in the minds of the customer. And then the likelihood of them defaulting on something like this, which is a very important role in their life, right? That's something that they can use as a service as and when required and repay as and when required, is something that nobody wants to default on. And so our credit journey began with this product, which is like a payment product, which is Mobikwik Zip. But once, obviously, we had millions of customers. So we have more than 5 million customers who use Mobikwik Zip. And we have disbursed more than $2 billion of credit just in Pay Later. We realized that people also sometimes need loans for longer term. They need money for your business. They need money for renovation. They need money for a child's marriage, right? And so if you need higher ticket amounts like a 50,000 or 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees, then it has to be given back in the form of EMIs. And again, we used our Pay Later base as a starting point. So whoever was using our Pay Later base, we give a personal loan mostly only to those customers because we already understand the credit history of that particular person. And so for us, the experience has been that bring the user in, let them use payments. We don't make money in payments, it's fine. But that payments user creates a funnel for people who will be eligible for credit. Starting with Pay Later, then later with personal loans.
You say you don't make money on payments, so you make very little money on payments. So where do companies like yours make money, especially in an environment where people are obsessed with profitability? And it's a good thing because we've seen a lot of money that was poured into companies like yours and many others. And then, of course, we hit a hard stop, the so-called funding winter. Is it important, and what has forced companies to start thinking about profitability? And now that you've achieved it, 2 quarters on a trot, what are your learnings from it? And is this something that you would breathe in on a daily basis?
See, one lesser known fact about Mobikwik is even before we raised external funding, for the first 4 years, I and Upasana, we put in our own money to build this business and get the first 30 employees. We literally used to work out of our house. So we were bootstrapped, that's the technical term, for the first 4 years. So for us, working with the budget and working with the money that you've got is nothing new. We raised money because we saw an opportunity to grow, because there was an inflection point that happened starting from 2013-14 with smartphones, then Jio, then UPI. And so we raised money and we grew the business, and in the process of that growth, we became unprofitable. But it was very clear for us that we are not building this company for 2 years or 5 years. We want this company to make an impact to 500 million people or billion people over the next 20 years. For that, external capital will not be enough. The company has to become profitable and sustainable. And there is another angle, which is very important, that from a regulator's point of view, regulator in this country, they want financial companies, whether they are fintech or not fintech, to be very sustainable. Correct. Because they don't want to give licenses to people who today are there and tomorrow are not there, right? It doesn't make sense. So when you are working with somebody's money and you are giving them advice on money, then you need to follow the advice yourself as a company. And so for us, we became margin positive, contribution margin positive, which is revenue minus all variable costs back in 2019. And we were on the verge of profitability. And just last 2 quarters is just a process which started many years ago. So it's not something that happened just like that.
It can't happen overnight.
It cannot. And I think I see a lot of talk about companies trying to cut burn and trying to become profitable, it's a huge effort. You can't do that by just laying off people, etc. Because you build the company in a certain way. I think the process of building the company, how you hire, what kind of cost structures you build, it should be done very deliberately and in a planned manner. And for us, like for example, there was again disruption during COVID, but post COVID, we took this call that we have to become profitable while we grow this credit business, and so here we are.
So clearly, cash burn ka zamana gaya ab.
Absolutely. I think cash burn, at least for fintech, I mean, I don't know about other startups, but for fintech, cash burn should be seen as a negative, simply because, you're working with people's money.
तो अब फिर cash earn का ज़माना आ गया है. तो I want to understand per customer, especially on the credit side, because payments is not really earning for you. You said that yourself. Per customer, how much do you really earn? Because some reports suggest that these small lending can get something about $15 to $20, whereas when a bank like an HDFC does that, it earns about $50, and a developed country bank would earn about $150. So what is the sweet spot for companies like yours? Is it $15, $20, or could it be higher?
So, पहली बात तो हम इंडिया में हैं, so we don't earn in dollars.
ये मैंने actually Bernstein की कल सुबह में रिपोर्ट पढ़ी थी, तो वहीं से मैं quote कर रही हूँ.
I think Bernstein needs to focus on the rupee more. Anyway, that's what we want. Less dollar, more rupee. So no, I mean, see, look, payments makes money for us. It is break even, but it can't generate huge profits.
Correct.
उसमें इतना margin नहीं है, right? So forget about $15, $20. I think you will be happy if you make 20, 25 rupees per customer. But even 20, 25 rupees in tens of millions of customers या करोड़ों customer में it makes some money, right? But I think the real thing happens is you think in terms of percentages. Payments is a maybe 1 to 2% game. कि 100 rupees के spend पे 1 या 2% आपका बनेगा. Credit, especially pay later, is a 3 to 4% game. Okay. On 100 rupees spend, you will make 3 to 4 rupees. Of course, when you go to loans, etc., it can go up to as high as 7-8% of the money spent. So that is the kind of way you think about. You will have largest number of customers in payments. They make lower amount of money per customer. Then you have smaller number of customers in credit, which make 3x or 4x kind of money and more profit. And when you go to cash loans or personal loans, then you make even more money, but the number of customers goes down.
So I was reading this data where in the month of August, UPI transactions were about 1,000 crores, and that's a big milestone. Out of these transactions, how many transactions actually give you an idea as to this particular customer could be someone who would want to take credit from me and maybe go on to that higher loan category? What percentage of customers are you addressing who fall in that category? We've got about 140 million plus customers now.
Yes, so we have 14 crore plus customers, which is 140 million. And we have about 5 to 6 million customers who use our credit product. So I think credit ka penetration payments mein it is very low. If you see at a pan-India level, while we are all using UPI, the number of people who use digital payments in this country, total mila ke 30 crore hai. It's only 300 million maximum. Yeah. And how many people in India have like a credit card or unsecured credit? That number would be like credit cards is about 50 million, 5 CR. And unsecured credit is maybe another 30-40 million, which is 3-4 crore. So less than 100 million people out of the 300 million people who are doing digital payments of any kind have any credit to spend. क्योंकि ना उनके पास credit card है, ना उनके पास बैंक से कोई loan है. So and this 300 million number is also growing. So the gap between digital payments and digital credit is huge, and that is the opportunity. And the reason that is an opportunity is I am a firm believer that digital payments creates your digital footprint in terms of your spends, in terms of understanding where you are spending money, what's your electricity bill. आप मोबाइल में कितना रिचार्ज करते हो? अगर आप फूड ऑर्डर करते हो तो 500 रुपए का करते हो या 1000 रुपए का करते हो? So this gives a lot of insights, and we have built our own internal algorithms where we use this data in order to understand this customer needs what kind of a credit product. and what kind of a limit. तो किसी को 5,000 रुपए की लिमिट मिलेगी, किसी को 50,000 की मिलेगी, depending on what they are doing. But almost, I would say almost all of them are eligible for credit. It is we as service providers who are not yet smart enough to figure out कि उनको credit कितना दें और कैसे दें.
Bipin, I want to understand one thing. ये pay later customer, I think, is in easy access because you can figure out within the first 2 or 3 transactions. लेकिन ये जो थोड़े से longer duration वाले loans के लिए आते हैं, what kind of loans are these? Are they primarily in the unsecured category? And I remember the RBI governor recently in his conversation with NBFC said, you know, the wave is good, the market is great. So, but be a little watchful on the unsecured side. Does that bother you guys as well when the number of unsecured loans, you're riding the wave now, but what happens when it falls flat?
So I think, you know, unsecured credit or credit of any kind, I would say, it has an inherent risk. And when you run that business, you have to factor in that risk when you plan the business. So you don't plan the business for current level of risk or credit cost. You plan it for कि अगर COVID हो गया, तो what will be the credit cost? Yeah, you know, like some event, doomsday event, and you need to have that margin of safety, right? So good thing is that today the penetration of credit is so low and the demand is so high that we can get away by rejecting so many customers, which I don't like. But we have to reject, you know, 80% of the customers who want a loan from us simply because we don't have enough understanding. It's our failure. We don't understand enough about them. We can give them a loan. We don't understand enough about their income. We don't understand about what they do, where they live. Of course, we have all the data points, but these are just data points. We don't have still a fully qualitative understanding of many of these customers. So risk is there, but the risk, I would say, has to be factored in when you plan and do a business like this.
So how do you get over that hump or the speed breaker of not understanding those people? Would you need to be investing in understanding them more data? How will you get that? Because that's a very large audience that you're saying no to.
Absolutely. I think, you know, there are huge disruptions happening in the market in terms of data and in terms of AI. And with the account aggregator, for example, there is a bank account statements which are being made available. There is data which is available on the phone. There is data from KYC, your personal IDs. Are we there yet in terms of having everything figured out? The answer is no. But there is the last 2 years, the advancements of AI that have happened, I believe they will actually help us understand the customers in a much better way, much more personalized way, and then help us take them to their targeted path.
I want to understand a little more on the AI part, but you also mentioned that you're looking at smaller towns, and I remember having a conversation with Upasana where she said, you know, the next market for Mobikwik will be tier 2, tier 3 towns. How excited are you to be there, and what is the kind of feedback that you're beginning to get from people who perhaps want credit, want to be on a digital platform and, you know, go smooth and not keep marring chakkars of banks and waiting for your bank manager to respond to you?
I think one of the first things and the most important things that people ask us and what we filled out is that people just don't understand money, right? How many of you, for example, understand your bank account that well? Or what is the story behind your bank account? What's inside your bank account? Some of you may have imported your bank account statements into Excel and smart enough to do pivots and understanding. But I am sure when we talk about tier 2 and tier 3, nobody has the ability to understand what's going on in their bank account. So,
because it's a very metro and a very MBA graduate thing, right? Ki I will monitor where my money is coming in, where is it going on. I mean, you think people in tier 1 and metros are doing this, not tier 2, tier
absolutely not. Actually, I would say that it's something that everybody needs to understand, no matter you have less money or more money coming in your bank account. You need to understand what's going on in your bank account. Or as I say, what's your money story? What's the story in your bank account? And with that, actually, I want to announce here a new product that Mobikwik is launching today. It is called Mobikwik Lens.
Okay.
And Mobikwik Lens is essentially an insight into your bank account. It answers the story behind the numbers which lie in your bank account. It tells you what you are doing, where your money is going, where your money is coming from, whether you're saving in the right way, whether you're investing in the right way, whether you are having good loan products or good credit products, could you get access to better products, and all of it packaged together with nudges and highlights. It's Mobikwik Lens.
And how is this going to really help you scale your business? Because here you're readying a platform that will perhaps give people more insight on what their savings and spends are, but how is it going to help you scale your business? Where does it take Mobikwik with the data that perhaps you serve them or they bring to you?
So Mobikwik has always been a transaction platform, a platform where you come to do a transaction, where you want to pay somebody. But we want Mobikwik to become a platform where you come to understand your money. And that's a big shift. So for us, we want to understand customers not just in terms of their transactions or do their transactions, but in terms of what their goals are, what their aspirations are, what do the numbers in their bank account tell us, and how we can apply AI and data science to offer them advice which is otherwise not available to masses. People like you and me, we can go to wealth advisors. Somebody will call us and tell us, do this investment, save this money, take this product, put this money, get 12% return here, get 15% here. But that's not available to the masses. So Mobikwik Lens is our offering to the people of India, where they can do this on their own, assisted by AI and data science.
Thank you very much, Bipin. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And thank you very much, audience, for being a part of
Thank
this
you.
great conversation.